Good evening, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome into the Money Stop. Brand new episode coming your way tonight. A little later in the week than we wanted to do, but nonetheless, we are here and we're ready to talk some RoMuscle. And we have a special guest in the house with us. Please welcome Time to the podcast. Um, this was very last minute for us. Just decided that he wanted to come on this past weekend. So, um, Time, welcome to the show and thanks for coming on.
Thank you for coming in, CSP. Yeah, wow, it's really roomy in here. But yeah, I'm ready to talk about some stuff.
All right, yeah, let's get into it. Um, all right, so first up on the agenda, we're going to recap the All Star race and Kansas. So we have a bit of a jam packed recap for everybody just because we have two races to talk about as opposed to one. And they're at two completely different racetracks with two different formats. The All Star race had a wacky format, and then Kansas was a normal points race. So, um, it was like two separate races. We ran the All Star race on Friday and the Cup race on Saturday, and the truck race was run, I think, after or no, before the All Star race. I think, yeah, I
Crux
think it was.
was on Saturday before the cup race.
Okay. I kept forgetting if it was Friday or Saturday, but um, so it was Saturday. Um, but first, let's recap the All Star race. So none other than Laner captured the W here, and we got the trophy in the middle here. And talk about the race and talk about what winning this race meant for you because as a driver that has been involved with this league for a while, um, I know that we've talked about this race in particular, um, and it doesn't really mean as much for us. But what does it mean for you now that you've won it? Um, and what does it say to your career and what you have coming up next for you in your career?
I mean, I guess it's nice to like check off the list. You don't really view the All Star race as like a crown jewel, but I guess it adds to the resume, right? Like when you're looking at things after you've retired, it's nice to say that you've won an All Star race. Um, but for the race itself, our team, I actually think we brought the Kansas car to North Wilkesboro. And because we were so bad, we did so bad. Um, Me and the 20 car of land spent the most laps in the back by far. Um, and it just started to become a joke, like who's gonna finish lower. And all the front runners got into a wreck at the end, and me and Land are running first and second, and somehow we won the race. So um, I don't know how we brought the Kansas car to North Wilkesboro, but it ended up in Victory Lane. So I guess that's all that really matters.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, there was only six cars in the field, and to be honest, I felt like everybody led at one point, or like everybody was at least like good at some point of the race. So there wasn't like a clear favorite, and we've never raced here or on this version of North Wilkesboro before. So it was definitely an interesting concept. Would I come back here for an All Star race next season? Maybe not, but I feel like it was a good experiment to try, and just um the historical significance outside of Roblox, like in real life with this track, is very fascinating. So I'm glad that we were able to bring that into RoMuscle and incorporate some of that history in there. I think that at least for me, it wasn't a good race because I pounded that inside wall in turn four, and that messed up my entire race after that point. But besides that, I don't know. I was completely off the entire race. I could not focus at all because I had I hadn't run in practice. I missed qualifying, and I started dead last. So it was like it was not good. Oh wait, I don't know. Did I qualify? I think I made it just in time to qualify, but I didn't practice at all. So going out there to qualify, it was like I had no idea what was in front of me. So it was an interesting race. Um, time from a commentary perspective, how would you say the race was?
I mean, oh, the 23 was really powering that when the first part, like even pulling in as kind of the basically probably leading the most laps. But yeah, I'd say that yeah, during this all-star race, I'd probably say that yeah, North Wilkesboro is kind of a big humple of dirt. I'm just gonna say that. I mean, it's not like a bad race nonetheless. I'm just gonna just say in my perspective when I was commentating with Aiden that I mean it has a lot it had a lot of stuff to talk about over there, which if you guys haven't seen the replay yet, yeah, it was crazy up there to see a lot of cars, even some of the rookies, like the 23 and 19, actually pulling in that top three spot most of the race, which we don't see that often with these incredible two drivers over there who are still looking for a win. But yeah, that's just kind of on my mind. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting too because the concept, or not the concept, but more so the format of this race has changed um, a little bit every year we do it. And um, there's always somebody always gets left out of the conversation. And I think the All Star race, like, I don't really know what to say about it because it's like, okay, for example, it's like Joey Logano won the All Star race in real life, but like, where has he been all season long? You know, like there was good drivers that had good runs in the All Star race, but where have they been all season long? Um, and like just strictly speaking about RoMuscle, I think like a lot of drivers have had bad luck on pit road. They've had bad strategy calls. They've had just bad luck that have kept them out of wins. But I think like the All Star race was a good opportunity for them to showcase their speed in a different type of race. But I think like it just was like the wrong time almost because it didn't pay any points. You weren't running for anything. So yeah, I don't know. But um Laner, you did an excellent job. Drove your ass off. And it was not easy uh trying to drive away from people. And I think that's another thing too. Um this race, like, you could pull away to about a
Yeah.
second or two and you just lose it all. And I think that was like really, really um it was really interesting because at other short tracks that we see like Richmond and Dover and like just other short tracks or shorter tracks, we don't see that as much. Either you're up close or once you're gone, you're gone. But I think North Wilkesboro was a good track for that, and I think like you could get away with pulling away, but um, the other cars still found a way to really back in. So, yeah. But um, did you guys want to talk anything else about the All Star race, or should we move on to Kansas now?
Um, I will just say that you really had to get in a rhythm at that track, and it was a fun track for the All Star race, but it's not one that I would ever like to see have a points race.
Yeah.
For many different reasons. Um, and kind of going into Kansas because these two drivers had excellent runs at Kansas as well. But Jackson and Wendigo have really impressed me lately. They both were probably the two fastest cars. You were up there too, CSP. at North Wilkesboro, and then they backed it up and were really strong at Kansas. So we can kind of go into Kansas on that note, but really impressed with those two lately.
Yeah, I feel like they've been good like all season long. They just haven't been in the right position to win the race. And that's what sucks because they have the
Yeah.
speed to win and be in contention every week. And they are very well capable um of passing people cleanly and knowing how to get to the front in good time, but it's just being there at the end. They have not been able to close out the deal. And sometimes it's them, sometimes it's been other circumstances. Either they get taken out, or um, if it comes down to like a pit road call, you know, they've had to pit, um, or just a late caution screws them over, and they lose all their track position um, that they had gained or wished for. But yeah, they've done an excellent job all season, I would say. Um, Time, what about you?
I'm taking your perspective. Yeah, these two have been going on a pretty good not it's not really bad at all. They have been like really pushing it in for to potentially get that spot to in the playoffs, but we're not talking about the playoffs just yet, but they're actually pulling in as like a decent driver. Like I'm talking about the 23 and the 19. As you're saying, they haven't gotten like around that first win though. It really sucks to see like you see they have the big potential, but then at the end you'd see like you'll act like a Ryan Blaney in like a worldwide technology when you probably lose gas. It's kind of just like that.
Yes.
So that's kind of my perspective on how it's about those two.
And I just want to point out for a second, Wendigo was fast. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we were fighting for last place, and I had to hold the hell out of the top lane because he got so big of a run um, all the way around the racetrack and was so much better in the turns that I don't even know how in the world I held him off. But another thing was too, um, I'm talking about Kansas, but and we can get to that in a minute. But he was flying at the All Star race too, and it was kind of just wrong position, wrong time, I guess. But um, they unloaded fast cars at both racetracks. So whatever GFM is putting in his car, keep putting it in the car because it's working. Like, this
Mhm.
dude's gonna win soon. It's like it's inevitable. Whether we like it or not, he's gonna win. Um, but he's just got to be at the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? Um, but let's move on to Kansas. Uh, so Kansas was a very, very interesting race. Was the debut of the multi-groove package, and I would say it was very, very mixed. Like, I personally enjoyed the racing, and I think like I was satisfied with the race when I was done with it. Um, and like I said before, a couple moments ago, when I was fighting with Wendigo on those last couple laps there, I found something in that top lane, and I was riding the hell out of it, and you definitely could find a good lane to keep good speed with. And I think that was like the most fun thing about this track, was that there was variety and your speed differed. It got spread out. Once cars started wrecking and we got spread out, there wasn't a way to make up the time, but you could kind of hold your position. You weren't like somebody didn't get a run on you, it can just pass you easily. Um, it didn't become a one lane racetrack. So I really enjoyed that, and I think for me, the package only needs minimal tweaks, but at the same time, you can't be expected to have the package 100% right in the snap of a finger. So, we almost needed this race for there to be feedback on what could change with the package. Um, but I think that it's off to a good start. Um, and I'm really, really happy with just how it's come out so far. And that I know that Laner and Icy you guys have been working so hard on trying to perfect this package, and you guys did a really great job. So definitely kudos to you guys. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, you guys deserve all the credit, and really, really have opened it up. But the same thing's going to happen this weekend with Iowa, so it should be interesting to see. We'll get into that in a couple moments, but um, I think just strictly speaking with Kansas, uh, what are some things that, and this could be anything, it could be with the package, um, it could be with the racing, just it could be with the winner. Um, Cragus won the race, and we'll talk about him in a few moments because that's definitely a conversation we need to have as well. Um, but what are some things you guys liked about the race? What are some things that maybe you were surprised about? Um, I'll start with you. From a commentary perspective, what did you like most about the Kansas race?
I mean, the Kansas race had everything. You had, I mean, the yeah, that update, that new debut for the multi groove was a really pretty was a pretty solid package of the first part. I mean, me as a commentator, I've seen trucks and seen the cup. Um, I'd say that there's just like it's been like this one technique that has been showed off from the 20, and it's always going like you're kind of just going the inside and then just kind of wall tap something like that. That kind of just continues kind of this speed momentum, probably gives you like a very big lead time. It's gotta be it's a really good choice. It's a really good like kind of update that's gonna give out. That maneuver that see that there needs to be some tweaks because that's kind of it's kind of give you like much more speed when you're just kind of just going, oh, we're gonna go like wall tap, go inside, go a little wall tap again. It's probably gonna be a little bit fixed, I'm gonna say, on that one. But for anything else other than the multi groove, no, it's been pretty solid, but just talked about the multi grooves, so that's kind of all.
Laner?
I don't really want to jump into the multi-groove rabbit hole yet because I feel like we can have a whole topic on that. But I really enjoyed Kansas a lot, and I mean I really did because you had the multi-groove, and also you had the new tire wear update, which I thought made things really exciting. Like at the end, for example, me and Icy had pitted when really nobody else did, and Lego and Cragus stayed out, and me and Icy were just so much faster on fresher tires, and um, I probably I'm not gonna take this away from Cragus, but I probably should have won that race. My tires were so much fresher. I tried to bump Cragus into the corner to move him out of the groove, but we're still learning with this package, like everybody is as drivers. And me doing that didn't work, and I was expecting it to work because in the previous packages, if you bump someone out of the groove, I mean you're gonna take the spot. But I did that and it didn't do anything. But me and Icy were just passing people left and right on fresher tires, and I had a lot of fun. I really don't have many bad things to say about the race. And I think maybe if the tire wear was more exaggerated or more of a dramatic effect, that could also create more passing throughout the field. So maybe that's something we could look into, but I'm getting off topic. I think it was a really good race.
Yeah, and I think it was a good race to debut the package at. Um, it was very spread out. It's a very wide racetrack. There's a lot of, um, there's a lot of open grooves, I guess. I don't really know like the right term for it, but there's a lot of room to maneuver, I guess. And I wouldn't really have wanted a different track for this debut because I think that um, just depending on where the package was debuted at, it could have really upset some people. Maybe if it didn't perform as well, and I think getting into the frustrations for a minute, there was a lot of people upset just with how the package was and how tight the cars were coming into the weekend. Like people were very frustrated with how tight the cars were,
Hmm.
and you know I think it was just beginners frustrations. People were just basically learning the ins and outs of the new package, and um, it's easy to complain about it when you're so used to driving um, one with a different package, two with different tires and like tire adjustments, um, and three when you're used to pack racing every week. It's like it's easy to complain about the car changes, but I think that a lot of people will get used to it, and they're gonna need to get used to it. But I think this was definitely a good track to debut it at, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the next set of races with this package look like. I think it's going to be very exciting and definitely uh, starts a starts to open a Pandora's box of just questions of how um, the cars will perform on these tracks with this package. But I would say it's off to a great start. Um, and let's talk about the winner himself for a second. Cragus. So, and I won't pull up the points yet because I don't want to get into two topics at the same time. But I know that Laner, you and I have had some discussions about Cragus in the past. We can put those to rest after tonight because he is locked in. Um, we no longer have to worry about him trying to get into the playoffs because he locked himself in this weekend at Kansas. And this definitely was a statement win for the team, I think. I think that they needed the win, but also it meant a lot more to him to know that he doesn't have to worry about trying to point his way in anymore. Um, it was a very controversial win, just given the closing laps there at the end. But a win is a win at the end of the day, and you know that team definitely earned it. They were fast all day long, so I think that
Yeah.
they definitely made a statement on Saturday. And now that they're locked in, we have how many winners now? We have one, two, three, four, or five. We have five winners now this season.
Yep.
And there is only six spots in the playoffs,
8.
eight spots. I don't know why the line moved, but um,
Uh, I can clarify. The line moved because there's 2 winners below the cut line. So I
okay,
moved the line up to
gotcha. Okay, I was wondering. I was curious about that. But there is eight spots, and there's five winners. So it's between Wendigo, Lego, Jax, Aiden, and Slater now, and most of these guys are pretty competitive. So I feel like, and we still have enough races left where any of them can win. Um, so it'll be really interesting to see. I really have no idea what's going to happen. But Cragus locks himself in. So what does this win mean um, going forward as we get closer to the playoffs? Now that this team has a little bit of momentum, what are we expecting to see from this team? Um, starting at Iowa to the playoffs. Laner, I'll start with you, I guess.
Well, I expect them to be competitive for the rest of the season now that they got that off of their shoulders. But the tracks we have coming up are such wild cards that I don't know. And I'm gonna kind of wait to talk about that when we get into the points. Um, I'm just I'm really happy for that team that they got a win. I knew that they were capable of it, and honestly, they were in a must-win situation. So it's really good that they got that out of the way, and they can just focus on the playoffs now. And it might still be difficult for that team to advance in the playoffs, but at least they're there. I mean, that's what matters. So they can take it one race at a time once they get there.
Yeah. Time? What about you?
Yeah, Darlington, they did pull out like a really strong move there. I'm telling about to like probably the last 2 weeks until now. They have put up a really strong start, and to be fair, that win for the unlock into the playoffs is really, yeah, it's really something it's really something to for them, and honestly, their first win for RTM. Coming into Iowa now, I'm talking. I'm gonna make sense for Laner. Yeah, it's gonna be. It is a wild card for this five driver to potentially have his move here to maybe lock in again, but who knows? Because he's been strong. I've seen him Darlington. I've seen him I've seen at Kansas, probably Iowa. You might see him as a strong, the most competitive one here. Like, he's saying like right next to the 20 here. They both could potentially do something, but I'm not gonna go a bit off topic. So yeah, I'm gonna just say in short that yeah, this 5 has been really powerful right now, and it's really starting to heat up. So.
And I want to point out something too, because I think this is important to know. This dude left GFM 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, and
Yeah.
this is what his second race in the 5 car, and he has won the race. He has won a race now.
Yep.
And I think that says something too, because maybe he didn't have his head on straight when he was at GFM. I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but to leave abruptly the way he did, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an ulterior motive there. And I think now that he's in a different mind space or mindset, and a different space with his own team, he's got his priorities switched around now. And, running the league has been nothing short of difficult as well on top of all that. But I'd say that he's done a very good job just with starting out with the new team so soon, and really, really trying to start some momentum here and get it going at the right time, if that makes sense. But like that to me is like the most fascinating thing. Like this dude just left his previous team and he won a race already. So I don't know. Just it's a statement win. There's no other way to um really emphasize that. It is a statement win, and I definitely think that this team needed that. Um and after the race, Cragus put out a statement. Well, a couple days after the race, he put out a statement regarding this past weekend. I will display the statement on the screen now. It says, just wanted to answer some questions and concerns regarding the league over the last few weeks, I've noticed. So he addressed officiating, the truck series, race scheduling, and formats. So with the officiating, he said that RoMuscle has never had a solid official, and it's something that the league can solve, but it's a difficult problem to solve, and they are exploring options for race officiating, and the main goal is to get someone to be there to help out officiate and race each race. However, it's a lot more difficult as of late, as I mentioned. But we are looking into the possible addition of automatic cautions. Um, if that does help solve the problem. Um, but the main goal is to get someone to officiate each race. And
Mm-hmm.
the truck series is in limbo right now. It went from a
Yeah.
points paying series to an exhibition series. So the goal is to keep the series around and to do some heavy recruiting in the off season, and hopefully have the truck series back to being a points paying series by next season. So um, there's that, and then um, just had a little note about race scheduling. Just wanted to emphasize that we are scheduling longer races just to add in strategy and um, more green flag runs, and I think we have to talk about that for a minute because I I I read this yesterday when it was put out, but I think we do need to talk about that. I think people need to realize that these longer races are probably going to be normalized from now on. Like, just get used to it because I think that you know we're gonna see longer races and it's gonna be just something that we all have to get used to from a
Yeah.
driving perspective, from a fan perspective, from a commentary perspective. Um, like 110 laps at Iowa should not be surprising to anybody. It's a short track. The laps go quick there. I think, it's um, definitely the appropriate amount for a race like that. But I know some people will be upset because they don't like the longer races, but it's just the strategy part that we try and play into that. But um, I don't know. Do you guys have any additions to that about the race scheduling?
Yeah, I just want to say all of our races are normally last around an hour, no matter what. We might
Mm-hmm.
have a few extenuating circumstances for crown jewel events. Like I think the RoMuscle 500 might have lasted around an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head, but your normal races are around an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Um, I don't really think it's a lot to ask to take an hour out of your Saturday evening um, to do a race. I understand if it starts to get around an hour and a half to 2 hours, um, but most of our races actually really don't take up that much time. Maybe 50 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, in my opinion, it's really not anything crazy. So I'm perfectly fine with the longer races. I mean, what else would you be doing for an hour on a Saturday evening? Probably watching TV or I don't know. Like I don't know. That's my perspective on it.
Yeah. Um, Time, you have anything to add over race scheduling?
Yeah, now it's kind of being on to like I guess probably like an hour or like more of an hour. I guess something kind of over like that. Yeah, I agree with Laner over here that yeah, like what do you potentially do with an over in kind of an hour, even during this for like an hour racing, because I don't mind it at all. Like I don't really mind it. Just yeah, I guess I can also agree with some of the people asking about like, oh, why is it not long enough? But yeah, this is how the race goes on I guess on my commentating perspective. It's kind of been on that type of that type of roller coaster. So you guys can kind of just take it with a grain of salt. I'm just gonna say that in a friendly way. So yeah, nothing else to really talk about it though. So
Yeah, and I think too, like these tracks coming up, like Walt Disney and shoot, what's coming up? like Walt Disney and Talladega, and I think like the street course, like these longer races, I think are definitely going to be interesting too,
Mm-hmm.
because it's we're getting to playoff time, and it's we're not playing around anymore. So the laps are going to get longer, and these races are going to get a little longer, and people just got to strap in. Um, and I wonder how many laps Texas will be as well, because Texas I feel like is a good track for like 70 to 80 laps, but like it's kind of nerve-wracking to think about anything more than that. So I'm curious already to see how many laps that race will be. But um and I wanna I'm not gonna touch on this too much, but let's touch on the officiating and um that whole ordeal that took place on Saturday. So after the Kansas race, there was a lot of controversy over Cragus's win because of uh, the amount of no cautions called. There was a lot of wrecks, and um, Cragus was leading the race at the end. So, um, and I will just say right now, I made this very clear before. I was racing for last. I could not see any wrecks. So, but there is multiple of us that can call the cautions. Um, but it was just, I don't know if it was the end of the race and we were all just focused on trying to finish. I don't know if those involved in those cautions were the people that could call the cautions. I'm not really sure what happened at the end, but I know that there was a lot of people that left with a sour taste in their mouth because of um, they think that the race was rigged. They think that Cragus intentionally didn't call it. Um, and while that was taking place, something was going through my head because I had the same instant happen to me in Road Car Season 4, Las Vegas. The race came down to a two-lap shootout, and there was a wreck coming to the white flag, and I didn't call it. Um, I was leading the race, and I don't know if anybody else could have called the caution, but to my knowledge, I think I was the only one in the race that could. Um, but it left a lot of people upset. And in situations like that, you just have to keep your head held high and keep moving because there's no other way really around that. If nobody could call the caution, I feel like you just have to keep your head held high and try and make a better decision next time with that. Um, and that kind of ties back into what Craig has said about like we're trying to find ways around that with automatic cautions or trying to find somebody to help officiate. I know that it's been a problem for a while and it still continues to be a problem, and it's very frustrating for everybody. But I think everybody has to understand too at the same time that we currently do not have an official that watches over the track. So it's hard to do both from either any of us that have permissions to call cautions, excuse me. But that's all I want to say is that, we're trying to make ways to solve this issue, but it also has been an issue for so long now that, it's like there's not too many options left for us. Did any of you guys want to chime in on this topic really quick before we move on?
Um, I will say that the people who could call cautions were all running up front, or you were in the very back. So you had Cragus leading the race. I was running second. IC was running third. Lego was running fourth. So us four that can all call cautions are only going to see what's ahead of us. Obviously, nothing happened towards the front of the field, and from where you were at, you could not see anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Cragus did say over the voice chat many times that if there's a caution, like, you need to let me know about it. And I think he handled that the correct way. To be fair, nobody really said explicitly, like, hey, you need to call a caution. So I don't know. It's really a tough situation, and the odds of all the officials running in those positions are very low. I think it was really just an unfortunate set of circumstances, and I do feel for Cragus that he finally won a race, and he's not really getting to celebrate because he's having to hear all of this backlash.
Yeah. Time, did you want to chime in on this or no? You don't have to if you don't want to, but
I mean, I could kind of chime in on officiating here. So, yeah, as a commentator, I'm gonna as a commentator here, it's kind of hard to really just kind of just. I'm basically in like a separate voice call because I'm basically at my commentator booth. Everyone else who are the officiators too are in their booth. I have seen all those crashes at the back. Although even though the commentating from the end was really lackluster, they kind of just mainly focus in the front. But I really understand of how the frustration has been for what happened after the end of the race. Like even when Cragus won, it's not really that controversial anymore, but it was controversial when he won something. But I would just say still congratulations to Cragus on winning it because he's a really strong driver. I can see his true potential here for RTM anytime soon. But again, I don't want to go a bit off topic, but yeah, officiating would need to probably step up a lot because now I have to kind of deal with kind of myself and I to deal with kind of I can't really focus on like if the officials are throwing a caution or if they don't throw a caution at all. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit rant about my about this officiating sort of sequence.
yeah, it's a very, very sensitive topic. And we won't talk much about it, but it kind of goes hand in hand with the post that I just put on the screen. So, um, I figured at least we could chime in a little bit on it, but it's yeah, like I said, it's a very sensitive topic, and um, we're trying to find ways around this problem. Um, but it's not getting any better. And yeah, I feel for Cragus because it's a very, very delicate situation, and it's very hard to do both, to drive and officiate. So um, yeah, it's I don't know. We can move on though. We don't have to stay on this conversation. I actually did want to talk about points for a second because this is a very important topic.
Whew.
So after week 7, we're looking at a very tight battle, and there is
Oh.
there is stuff going on up like from first to last. Well, not Rondo, but Slater.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there is stuff going on everywhere. So Laner holds the points by 1 point. He overtook the points lead by 1 point. Land, like I said, 1 point behind him. I'm trailing back with about 202 points. Wendigo's right behind me at 187. Lego's right behind him at 179. Jax is right behind him at 172. Aiden is right behind him at 167. Icy's at 156. Cragus is at 155. And Slater is at 146. There is not one driver on this list who is safe. And I wanna point something out too because this is very, very important. Slater got left out of the race on Saturday. He was eliminated from qualifying. That leaves him in 10th now, and he has not won a race. So he is now the driver that I'm worried about because he missed out on all those points on Saturday. Um, and yeah, he's only really 20 points out of it, but let's just say he doesn't attend Iowa. He's still in last, and that puts him in a further hole. You know what I mean? So um, it's a very, very subject to change point standings right now. And I don't think, I want to say this, I don't think I've ever seen a point standings look this close before, ever. Um, there's just like nowhere to hide on here. And I like that about this, but it's also very nerve-wracking because it makes attending the races that much more important, and really, really emphasizes the need for trying to get into the race if there is enough drivers that would like to race that somebody gets left out from qualifying. Um, I think Kansas was the first race in a few weeks now where we've had a full field where we've needed to cut one driver out. So um, it was definitely a stark reminder for that, um, that if somebody gets cut out, you're losing a lot of points there. And I think Slater still got points because he still attempted to qualify and, he still attempted to make the race. But I mean, he just lost out on a lot of valuable points. And we only have, I mean, after Iowa, we only have a few races left, and they're all wild cards. Um, so I don't really know what to expect. But I mean, from what I see right now, this top eight, and the guys that are locked in, it's gonna be very, very tight. And you guys can chime in.
Yeah, so so we have 5 winners right now and 6 races until the playoffs start, including Iowa. Um, and Slater hasn't won a race, Wendigo hasn't won a race, Jax, Aiden, Lego. Any of those guys could still win a race, especially when you're talking about tracks coming up like we have a street course, we have Talladega, we have Disney, which we've never ran at. We have Martinstown. Like we have a lot of wild cards. So I'm starting to prepare for 8 winners personally. And in the case we get 8 or 9 winners, you're just right back to points. It's going to be who are the top 8 in points. So in that case, it's going to be a battle between Icy and Cragus for that final spot. I mean that's just like a pie in the sky scenario. I don't really expect us to get 9 winners. I'm just saying it is a very real possibility. And I do predict that we will at least get to 7 winners. 8 is very possible as well. And Jax, I think, is not going to make the race this weekend, so Aiden should jump back into that spot. So that'll also be something to watch. But I'm very confident that Slater will win a race before the playoffs are here. Wendigo and Jax have both been showing a lot of speed, and Aiden and Lego could win a race anytime. They just really need the cards to fall right, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'll chime in before time. I'll let you chime in. Um, I think for these guys that haven't won, even if like you don't have the opportunity to win, I think you should still try and focus on collecting as many stage wins, playoff points as you can. Because Wendigo has 2 stage wins. He has 2 playoff points. If he gets locked in, if he's like good on points, he's gonna be in a very, very deep hole come that first round. And I think like teams like Lego, Jax, Aiden, even Slater too, they all just need to collect as many stage wins as possible. So whether that means now staying out when people pit under green for a stage win, you know, mixing it up, taking two tires, like putting yourself in a position to win a stage is going to be very crucial these next couple weeks. Um, and I think like, you know, for guys like me and Land, I'm not too concerned about. If you're in the double digit category, I wouldn't be as concerned. But even guys like you, Laner and Cragus and Icy that are locked in, I think like still just collecting as many stage wins as you can before the playoffs start is going to be very crucial. And I wanted to point that out because as some people may know, may not know, I don't know if like everybody's aware of our system. It is very similar to how it works in real life. Once the playoffs start, it's like clean slate and only your playoff points carry over. So, what you have in that playoff point bracket right now is what you're going to have come that first race um, when we get to what's it called? When we get to Nashville. So, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see. Um, time. What are you looking at when you look at these points?
Oh, it's really a tidy one in looking at these little points over here. Yeah, there's a lot that could happen with these point changes. Even though Jax won't be there for Iowa, there still can be like a huge jump. Something could be the bottom, like Schlater. He could potentially probably get a win right up there. It's something. 6 races left until the playoffs, and they're all wild cards. Yeah, I'm agreeing with Laner here. There could potentially be around like 7 or 8 who are going to win it, but I'm not. It's kind of just my opinion though that there's probably gonna be like, I'm gonna take my opinion. There's probably gonna be like maybe like 6 that could win. I mean, looking at this, Jax has pulling in 5 top 5s during the last 6 races was nuts. And he is a rookie. He has started his debut here for GFM, and honestly, he's above the cut line right now. Although he could be below the cut line in the next money stop, when they talk about it. But yeah, looking at here that Lego above in 5th right now. I would say here, and I'm gonna say this is an apology, Lego, but I probably don't think he could be making it into the playoffs. And I'm just saying it here. He's a good car. Good driver. He has everything. He just hasn't gotten that pristine amount of a little bit of power yet. That it's kind of the thing. As along with Aiden, he's been kind of like the kind of on and off sort of thing. Although he's got a stage win on his belt. Below the cut line, he could be above the cut line, maybe below the cut line the next race. It's a lot to say, and I also want to say this to Schlater as well, as kind of another debut here for not for GF, excuse me, SSR. Yeah, running at 146 points. He could potentially do well in Iowa, and that could be a good thing for him because he's kind of been like a bit of a struggle right now, and even after getting out of Speedy Motorsports like last season to then here now, he's been kind of silent, and I kind of see him as like a really talented driver, and I have seen him at that one road course. I'm pretty sure Coda, or probably not Coda, or something like that. But yeah, after that kind of like bump from that last lap, yeah, I'm kind of talking about the past now. Yeah, it kind of feels now that it kind of feels like a turn. It kind of feels like a letdown now. So, in my opinion, of looking at this points, it could potentially look as Lego and Schlater could potentially be out of the playoffs in the next 6 races. I'm not really like pointing fingers just yet. There's still a lot more to go. They could potentially pull a huge upset by potentially winning a race, but I just look at here that like Lego and Schlater, even Schlater is really strong though. He could potentially just kind of just be like out of the groove at this point, and it's really sad. It's really sad to see this number 2 driver to kind of he went from like going kind of move to teams to now kind of having a little bit of the tent. So, but yeah, all the other drivers they're doing pretty well. It's still tight, like it's still not over yet. But that's how I kind of point that out about it.
And with Jax out, does that mean? Hold on, how many are checked for the race?
8.
What's
So
8?
we'll have enough where nobody will be cut out. So I think that assuming that it's only 8 that come, those 8 drivers are definitely gonna be lucky because they won't have to fight in qualifying as much this weekend. There's something I did want to point out too. Laner, you've finished top 5 every single race this season. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I
Like,
do know that.
You're the only driver in the series right now that has done that.
I've kind of not wanted to bring attention to it to not jinx myself, but yes, a very impressive run. And we won the All-Star race too, so we kept the streak going there as well.
Yeah. So technically you have 3 wins, or 2 wins, but I don't know. You can count it however you want to count it, but a win is a win. But yeah, I wanted to point that out because I thought that was a very interesting thing I saw. I was like, damn, he's the only driver in the series that has that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the second closest would be Land with 5. So
Yeah, and I think Icy's tied with him too.
yeah, Icy has got a top 5 in every race that he's attended.
Yeah.
He just hasn't attended every single race.
Yeah. Is there anything else with the points that we want to point out? No pun intended. But
I guess just to clarify, the reason that Rondo's name is in red is because I do the points, and from my understanding, he has not met the minimum attendance requirement to be eligible for the playoffs, so that is why his name is in red, just for anyone wondering. Regardless, he would be in a must-win situation, even if he did get a playoff waiver or whatever. But that's why his name is in red, just to clarify that.
yeah, I was curious on that, but it didn't really like I wasn't really thinking about it too much.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have to attend like 50% of the regular season, so
yeah. Let's see. Anything else we want to talk about with the points?
No, I think I talked about everything about it, or
Okay.
mostly everything.
All right. Well then, let's move on here. All right. Our next segment is gonna be. This will be fun. We get to ask some questions to our guest on this episode. I'll start because I'm really curious to know. This is your first full-time season commentating. How do you feel in your first season as a commentator, and has it been a lot for you?
That's actually a good question to ask to me. So, I mean, it's been a lot to really dissect into the commentary booth here. Yeah, after Wagner's disappearance that has been going on, yeah, I've been kind of the lone wolf on the commentating booth, but it's been fine. I've seen some really good battles back and forth over time, but I mean, I feel although I would say there that I could potentially want another person to potentially commentate with me, but that's just my opinion. It's all fine right now. It's just that yeah, it's been kind of just like a me show, kind of just commentating for these races. So
If you had somebody to pick, who would you want to join you in the booth.
Oh, if I want to talk about commentating trucks, oh hell yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm really saying is here. That trio over there for trucks, kind of just the first time, you actually feel like you kind of connect with or you just kind of like to take turns around like really talk about the race. Like I'll talk about Darlington. Oh yeah, that's a really good commentating booth over there, and I'm saying it forward. It's probably one of the best commentating booths I have probably ever seen. Compared to Cup, it's honestly just kind of a me show now. I mean, Wegner back in the day for last season, he would kind of talk time to time, but till that kind of him just being in the commentary booth now just kind of was like it was just silently like in the mist, or I would say in short, like he's just kind of disappeared. But yeah, I would definitely pick the trio to kind of commentate with me, but they race, so I really wish to see Lane. I really wish to see you in truck again for Iowa to see what kind of crazy things are gonna be pulling in. But yeah.
I guess I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you ever get lonely up in the booth? I know that's kind of a silly question, but
I mean, I'm called a lone wolf for a reason, not the commentating booth. But yeah, I mean, it's really fine, honestly. I mean, I would say here, yeah, you can feel kind of lonely without like a person near, but honestly though, it's kind of the reason how I kind of felt like, yeah, you kind of had to, you basically had like your own partner like Wegner to kind of be in the commentating booth, and then now it's kind of like yeah, you kind of just you're on your own at this point. But it's not really like lonely, but like it's honestly fun to see these races, and then kind of just me kind of alone kind of commentating it, because I kind of get like the whole space here for this. So I mean, at least no interruptions, no really that much of kind of drama going on, but that's kind of the only thing I could say about it. So yeah, it's kind of the best thing to kind of like mind your own business and such, but you know.
Have you ever thought about climbing back into a race car again?
Oh, yeah, after that Las Vegas win, I don't know. I would need a lot of practice to kind of come back into this racing space. Although I probably won't really gain that much. At least I will gain a lot of kind of like the tracks I will potentially know for these types of races. And although new tracks, new road courses are going to come in, so I have to kind of deal on that. But during this commentating space, I'm going forward. It's it kind of feels really cool to really see these drivers, like obviously you and CSP, or you and Laner, to kind of just see how skilled they are, how potentially kind of develop on I guess develop more words on how to I guess the premise of commentating. But to your question, I don't know if I would be coming back to a race car sometime soon, but sometime at the moment I might come back into a car, unless probably maybe around like next season or two. I'm not going to really talk about that yet, because it's not really the true prediction just yet. But hopefully, in any case, I'll probably jump back in a car in it or two to kind of feel this experience again. It's been really fun to see it there. So,
I was gonna ask you your Final Four prediction, but as a commentator, I feel like it's probably best for you to stay neutral.
I mean,
so fine. I mean, I don't know. I guess I could ask you that.
He already kind of gave us a prediction for like winners, though. Like he agreed with you on seeing a couple more different winners. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe not your Final Four, but like what teams are you watching out for? Like what teams do you think have been the strongest, and what teams do you think will make deep playoff runs?
I mean, there's only like a selective amount of teams there back and forth. I mean, GFM, they kind of feel like they're slithering up a bit. For SSR, they're kind of a little bit calming down at the moment. Looks like a battle between these two. But
Or
look at the word.
Maybe
Yeah?
not like teams, maybe like individual drivers. That's what I meant by like.
But let's see. I'll look at here. It kind of looks like I don't know. This Final Four prediction is gonna be a little bit of a toss up here, but it will potentially kind of, I don't know, mix in. So it looks like Land over here, he could potentially be a championship for contender again. Yes, a returning champion could potentially come back to maybe win it, but not sure yet. He's been having 2 wins under his buckle or under his belt, so he has been really strong. Kind of that 2 races, but although that was basically a coda, and pretty sure Darlington, he was really strong at that. During that Kansas race, I don't know how to say that forward. He finished the top 5. It was a good run, but I don't know. It's really kind of just leaning to Land mostly to see this guy who has been really strong, the really powerful Senator for GFM. So that's kind of my one pick. My next pick is definitely Cragus. RTM, even having the win, having their first win at Kansas, as we talked about before, they've been competitive, and I'm saying competitive like Darlington. He was beating and banging going on here. He was really pulling in that competitive side, and I really love that because of Cragus. And even the Kansas too, even kind of going back and forth a little bit, kind of going to last to first. He's always the person or this driver who can make up like maybe a lot of stage wins. But even though he's 2 stage wins right now, I'm not gonna say really more forward, but he feels like a pretty easily strong contender at the moment for that. And maybe I'm gonna say this to, I could probably say this to SSR as well. I could think maybe you, Laner, and CSP, you guys have been pulling out the top, kind of the tippity top right now for this Final Four. I mean, Laner, you're on a streak of 7 top 5s, which it's been a really good one. And CSP, you've rounded up with 2 wins, but at least you had like the warm record of 5 stage wins, which it's really incredible to see the audacity. I'm say that for you two. I could potentially say that this would be my championship 4 line. If either one of them, something like Cragus, could potentially fall off the roof, I would say a bit between Wendigo and Jax. They've also been pretty good as well. With Jax has been pulling out with 5 top 5s, and Wendigo, although being the underdog too, he's been pulling out stage wins. And honestly, I can potentially say this is a really tough one. It could be like a 3-way tie between Cragus, Wendigo, and Jax to potentially take that that last contention spot. But that's just me, all those. So it's not about me, but yeah, I really have no answer to say about the last contention, but it's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. So yeah.
So let me get this right. Did you just give us your championship 4 predictions in a non-clear way?
Read between the lines.
I'll say it in like a clean manner, that I could potentially say that it's a close one for that last spot. But you, Laner and Land, will potentially get that championship 4 spot. That's kind of just my prediction there.
So you think Okay, so you think the fight is for the last spot?
It's a tough fight for the last spot. Honestly, it's gonna be down to the wire.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here. If you're listening, you heard it here. Um, damn. That I honestly like for the most part, it's the same championship for as last year. Um, but I don't know. We'll have to see. If your predictions are right, we'll have to bring you back on and celebrate or
I
something. I
mean,
don't know.
I mean, we really have to celebrate during that. I mean, I'm on for it. I mean, I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, I mean, if the podcast is around, we'll have to bring you on. Um,
Yep.
hmm. Damn. All right. Well, where do we even go from here? I do have one last question, and I'll keep it very simple. Um, I know that you as a commentator, you're the only guy in the booth. So
Yeah.
you oftentimes face a lot of criticism from other drivers and other people in the league. How do you handle the criticism and feedback that you get?
Oh, the criticism and feedback for my commentary booth. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know how to really much say about it. I mean, if they take the criticism, I can really understand of how they criticize me. But even though it's kind of just more of like an equal split between between kind of the criticism and the feedback I've gotten, even during the booth and such. Even though I would mix up words back and forth, yeah, it's. I mean, I would understand them honestly that they could criticize me of how I kind of really speak out to other drivers. They could potentially be like a mix-up word. It could potentially be like myself not really knowing some of this. But honestly, I don't really care about the criticism or anything like that at all. I can really understand them at the most part. So yeah.
Shutting the haters down. Nice.
Yeah, got the haters down.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's talk some Iowa. This is always my favorite part of the show, talking about the next weekend. Because it's always a big question mark. I feel like this season, especially, has been a big question mark for every next weekend. Um, and Iowa is nothing short of that. If anything, the question mark got 10 times bigger with this multi-groove edition. Um, Land, as we know, is the king of Iowa. I mean, this man has gone back to back to back to back. Do we think he goes back to back to back to back to back um, with the addition of the multi-groove? Because, and I will say this, every Iowa race that we've had has always been a pack race. It's always been a pack race. Um, and it's not easy to race in Iowa. Um, but I think it's going to be a little different look this weekend. So what do you guys think?
I think it's impossible to bet against Land at this point, but Iowa is a very unpredictable track. I mean, it really is, and I don't really. I know Land's the favorite just because of his history, but I don't know, man. It's really hard to pick one person because these races just get so unpredictable. And Iowa is a really unpredictable track, so I don't know. It's really anyone's race, and I think that the fact that everybody has been talking about Land is probably going to motivate a lot of drivers to want to go out and win even more. So I feel like this season Land is going to have to go out and earn it even more than ever before, because he's kind of flown under the radar. The other times people are kind of like, but now it's like it's a thing. Land owns Iowa, so I think it's going to motivate a lot of drivers to want to go win. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. obviously I would pick Land to win, but it won't come easy. He's gonna have to fight for it.
Time.
Yeah, you can see that Land being a little bit the corn on the cob crown over here, kind of being the favorite here. So that's kind of all I can say about that, because this is all him for Iowa. Because I mean, there's it. I mean, again, it's always a mix up of any of these drivers. They want to maybe snatch that little streak they have for Land. It could potentially become a new driver to win here. But again, it's always a toss up between the drivers that are going to be out here and the king of the corn for Land here. So I mean, it's gonna be a close fight over here, but I don't know. I don't have my own opinions to say about it. So yeah.
I feel like what's interesting about this is that there's a line, like a specific line that drivers run at Iowa usually. I feel like with a second line opening up, I don't know just with how much banking the track is, if that second line will help speed things up or move people around. Um, but I'm interested to see if people will still stick to that line. Um, Usually, a lot of people just wrap the bottom all the way around. Um, I don't know though. It's going to be interesting. Um, what are we looking for this weekend in terms of just the racing and what we think this package is going to provide? We know that Iowa is a short track, um, and we know that anytime we come here, it is a pack race. It's very, very tight racing. It's usually a longer race. So, what are we expecting with that second lane added in? And I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts about the race? Time. I'll start with you. Like, what are you looking at when you step into the booth this weekend?
I mean, if it's something like other than Kansas with kind of Land's move going on here to potentially get that little bit of the lead most of the time, or Cragus, then I don't know. This could potentially be on any anyone at that point. But I mean, if they update that multi group thing with that kind of being like a little bit nerfed going on, then I don't know. This could potentially be anybody for this race, and me kind of looking towards these drivers to see who could be the dominant one, who could potentially be a little bit on the iffy side, but that's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to clarify that the multi groove won't be at Iowa. And we're mostly just going to be doing that at the intermediate tracks, so all the short tracks will stay the same. So, anyways, but I don't know. I expect Iowa to be similar to how it's been in the past. It's going to be very bottom dominant, and but there might be some strategy play out with the fuel and tire wear and stuff. So last season it was a little bit of a strategy race, and you actually kind of had to conserve your tires. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and what drivers strategize correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Any drivers you guys are specifically watching this weekend? I'm gonna probably have my eyes on Wendigo. He finished last in Kansas, but he had speed. And I think it was just wrong place, wrong time for that guy. But um, I'm looking at Iowa as a really good track for him because he was good at North Wilkesboro and he showed speed in Richmond as well. Um, but I think that it's a good track to build on for a driver like him. And we haven't seen this version of Iowa yet, and I think he'll perform very well. So I'm going to be watching him. But who are you guys watching?
Um, I don't really know if there's anything we can take away from other short tracks this season, because Iowa really races more like an intermediate, at least in road car. I think Richmond would be a good comparison, but I don't really even know if that's a good comparison, because Land is really, he just, something about Richmond, it just doesn't work for him. But then he goes to Iowa and he'll lead every single lap. So Iowa is really a unique track. But yeah, I'm looking at Jax, Wendigo, and Land. I guess GFM. I think GFM will have a really good showing at Iowa.
Oh, I could say about my part now. Although since I'm a bit of a fan of a little bit with the underdog side, I'm kind of connecting to Laner. Although I could say that, yeah, you could say about like Jax and Wendigo could be like a really strong, pretty two strong competitors. But I mean, Lego has put up a bit of speed. I mean, he has finished a top 5 during that. He hasn't really gotten the best at the moment, but I'm just going to give himself the doubt that I will have slightly a bit of hope on him. Although he hasn't really gotten the best at the moment. I mean, that's completely fine, but I feel like he can become just this really little bit of talent could potentially come around him to potentially get himself maybe a stage win or some so. But I don't know. It kind of just leads on to it's always fun to kind of lean on to some of these underdog drivers and potentially kind of giving them hope. So it's something. No, I will apologize, like, if I ever butcher that. So
Well, I guess we'll have to see. I'm not really sure what to expect this weekend, but do you guys want to do race picks and then we'll rate the races from this past weekend?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, we'll do that then. All right. I guess I'll go first. My race pick is not Land. I think the streak ends this weekend. I am gonna go with Aiden, and it's a very interesting pick. Yes, I know, but this guy has been on a very interesting run lately, and this team has speed, but I think they're gonna do it this weekend. I have a feeling that they can definitely pull through. He only has one top 5. That's my concern, but he just has to be in the right place at the right time. But I think Aiden locks himself in this weekend.
Okay. My pick is going to probably surprise a lot of people, but at the moment, Slater is checked for this weekend.
Oh.
And I go back to last season at the All-Star race, when we had it at Moon Motor Speedway or whatever, which is a track very similar to Iowa. And Slater went out and dominated that race. And I'm kind of on the same page as you, CSP. I think it's just really difficult for me to pick Land just because I don't know. I have a feeling that it ends this weekend too. It like that would just be insane to if he continues the streak. I mean, it just seems a little bit unrealistic to me. Seems kind of crazy. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's very possible, but I'm gonna go with Slater. He seems really good on those types of tracks, and I think that team is going to drive super aggressive to try to get a win.
Yeah, I mean, I like your pick, Lanner. Even though we're kind of on the trend with kind of like a little bit the underdogs here who hasn't gotten a win yet. I mean, I would lean out that potentially. I think Jax may have got it. I mean, we're all picking underdogs at the moment. We probably kind of concerned that Land's streak could end. And I mean, there's going to potentially be a new winner at this point. Other than that, but although Jax, he's kind of like the another surprising pick for Iowa. He's shown speed as well. I mean, like Aiden, he has shown speed, but kind of like not. I mean, kind of the amount of speed that like kind of the All-Star race hit the first part up there. It was really good. I mean, it's going to be a bit more wider. It's going to be a little bit more skill. But I feel like during that during that moment with looking at it, I mean, he's oh wait, Jax is not there. Wait, oopsies. I need to change my note cards here.
I was gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for y'all peoples. It was actually scribbled out to say to put out Wendigo,
Okay.
not Jax. So
There you go.
kind of. So yeah, it's kind of okay. The note card's kind of just scribbled there to Wendigo. So excuse me there, but yeah, Wendigo shows the same talent as Jax, but although forward, he's been dominant. He's 2-stage wins. I feel like he can potentially lock himself in. And again, we're talking about underdogs at this. We're going to be. If I see Land probably winning Iowa, I will jump right back into the podcast. It's going to be probably most likely. But yeah, I would say that Wendigo is a very strong pick. He's a good driver. He's really strong, just like Aiden, which they both haven't got a win yet, but still looking to. And yeah, it's just trying to read out my note cards and trying to scribble out Jack's name there. So yeah, it's great.
I think with Jax being out this weekend, I think that's gonna be he's gonna lose a lot of points, but I think it's a missed opportunity for the team. I don't know why he can't make the race, but for whatever reason he can't. It'll be unfortunate because every week he's very fast, but um, I think that he definitely would have a good chance this weekend to showcase
Yeah.
his talent and have a good chance to win. Um, I think it's interesting though. We didn't pick Land. I thought somebody out of us would pick Land, but um, I guess we're all thinking his streak will end this weekend. So I guess we'll have to see. I'm not really sure what will happen. None of us do. Let's rate the race and we'll wrap up this episode of the Money Stop. Um, so every episode we rate the races from the previous weekend. You guys know the drill. We'll start out with the All-Star race. So I know the All-Star race was meh. Like it wasn't really like something to be excited over, but um let's do the All-Star race first and then we'll do Kansas. So I guess we can go starting with Laner and we'll just go across.
You want me to give a percentage?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll give it a 25%.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness, that's potentially the.
I'm sorry,
That's the
guys.
lowest rating you've given this season.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't with that race, and I know I won, but I should not have won that race. I was just not having fun at all. Like I was running in the back, and it felt like no matter what I did, I could not make up time. I really was not having fun. I'm just talking from a driver's perspective. I did not enjoy the All-Star race at all until I won. And even then, I still feel like I didn't deserve to win. So it really didn't even feel like a win. So yeah, I really didn't have a lot of fun at that race.
Well, that sucks. I damn, I thought you'd honestly give it a higher rating because you won the race, but okay.
I'm being brutal.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna give it a 55. It's lower than I like kind of was thinking it would be. I wanted to give it a higher rating, but I think like just North Wilkesboro is not all-star race worthy. Um, I'm interested to see how a points race would be there, but I don't think I would put it in the all-star category permanently. I think it's a good one-off experience. Just as I said earlier in the episode, it has historical significance, and um, you know, there's a lot of history behind the track. But I don't think that this race was everything I had hoped it to be. I think, um, honestly, I'd just rather it get bulldozed or go to a different version. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hmm.
That's my takeaway and my opinion from it. But um, yeah, I give it a 55% time. We're on to you.
Oh, it's gonna be a toss up here. Even though a lot of good battles were there, but some drivers I could, I mean, kind of Lane's perspective, I'm gonna be in between 35, 35%. I mean, it showed. I mean, this showed the underdogs like good skill. Just I don't see. I somehow haven't seen the kind of something like you and Laner, or for example, Land and Laner, and you for it too. Kind of just kind of pull out the talent, but yeah, it's kind of been all like an underdog's day for some reason until that happened for when you and you Laner somehow won that, which I mean in my opinion I didn't expect. I didn't knew you would win that, but it'll probably lean into Jax. But I'm not gonna go much more forward. I'm not gonna go too forward with that. So I'm just gonna leave it up to say like it's a 35% because yeah, it's been all over the place for these underdogs.
Okay. All right. Kansas. What do you guys think? Laner.
Um, I'll give Kansas um an 80%.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it personally, and I know a lot of people had complaints with the multi groove, but I really had a lot of fun. And after doing this type of racing in row car for years now, it was really exciting, honestly. And I really enjoyed it a lot. I really don't have that many bad things to say about it.
Okay. I'm actually also going to give it an 80% as well. Like I said earlier, I really enjoyed uh, the race, and um, I enjoyed the racing at least. I think something too that we didn't point out when we recapped the race was a lot of the times when we wrecked, we didn't like completely wreck. We like either like held on to each other, or we saved it somehow. We avoided a lot of cautions, I think. Um, but I think that that was definitely um, a plus from it too, because we were able to keep going, um, and it was all around a good race. I would say, like, there was a controversial finish at the end, yeah, but um, besides that, I would say it was a very very good race, and I just love Kansas. I hope it stays on the schedule next season, and it never disappoints. So, um, yeah, I hope we see it come back next season. But yeah, it gets an 80% from me.
All
And
right.
yep.
Yeah, I was about to say it's gonna be me now, but I'm gonna a little bit criticize that controversial thing going on. Has kind of ruined my mood with it. But I mean, saying it forward, the multi groove sort of update was really good. It does show. I mean, still a debut going around and such. Even though it was a really good upgrade to see that Kansas has been pulling out some really good fights, although some stuff happened there. I might go criticism. I might land it into I'll say a commentating booth perspective for both I guess for both races, I'll combine them to make it look like maybe like a maybe a 50 or 45. That trucks race was kind of boring as hell. But
That's
it's
why we
still
don't rate the truck races anymore, dude.
it don't really get
Yeah.
the truck race, but I'll just say I'll give it like a 60, 65. It's kind of a reasoning thing to say. I don't hate Kansas, but I mean, just I guess you really can call that the controversial sort of thing going on. It kind of ruined it a bit. If it wasn't for that, I would say it would be around your level, like you and CSP's level. But yeah, I'm just talking about that thing. So yeah, it's kind of 65. So
All right.
Okay.
That's, I think besides Laner's uh, percentage for the All Star race, I'd say we had pretty good percentages. So it was an all around okay weekend, I would say, for racing. Um, we only have a couple more races to go. I'll put the schedule back up on the screen again. As a reminder, we have Iowa coming up this weekend, but following the Iowa race, um, we have Walt Disney, Talladega, um, the Grand Prix in Washington, D.C., and then Chicagoland, which is going to be another great race. I believe that will be the next race with the multi groove.
Mhm.
And then the cutoff race at Martinstown. And then we hit the playoffs. So we got a couple races to go after Iowa. So if the drivers that haven't won are going to win, now is the time to do it. But make sure to tune in Iowa this weekend. Going to be 110 laps of exciting racing, hopefully. The stages are 30, 30, 35, 35, and 40. Green flag kicks off at 7:30 right here on the RoMuscle YouTube channel. Before we go, I just want to clear up something really quick. Um, we made an announcement a few days ago that the podcast would be shutting down. Um, I think for us personally, we're gonna see how it goes over these next couple episodes. Um, we may stick around until the end of the season. We don't want to shut things down just yet. Um, we'll have more of a clear answer next week on our Iowa episode, if that'll be the last episode or not. Um, but most likely we'll be finishing out to the end of the season, at least, and then we'll see what happens from there. Um, I feel like the money stop has accomplished what we've tried to accomplish, which is telling the stories of the RoMuscle Garage from week to week. Um, and I've really, really enjoyed every episode and getting to sit down for an hour and talk anything with this league, with Laner, and to bring on some guests. Like we've had Land on, we had Cragus on for like 15 minutes, and then we have time on tonight. Hopefully, if we continue this, then we can have some more guests on before the end of the season. Like I said, nothing is set in stone yet. We still have some internal discussions to do about the future of this podcast, but um, we hope that we're able to continue it, and we hope that you'll be able to continue supporting it. And yeah, that's all I have from me and Laner and Time. Thank you guys for joining and listening. Thank you, Time, for joining us tonight.
thank you
Um,
too.
it's been a pleasure having you on, and I'm glad we were able to have you on tonight. And Time will be in the booth this weekend, commentating the race. So definitely don't forget to tune in. But we will talk to you guys after Iowa. Take care, everybody, and have a great night.
Good night, everyone.